Good morning, my loves. Happy Sunday. A beautiful Sunday morning here at the lake. I'll give you a quick view. Isn't that pretty? So far, so good. The high today, 70. You hear my co-host howling in the background, which brings us to today's topic. Disagreements, agreeing to disagree, arguments, the art of compromise, and everyone's favorite, right fighters, the people that have to get that last word in. We have all been in situations, especially with the world situation as it is right now, politically, with religion and culture, and on and on and on. Everybody has their own opinions, and that's okay. If their opinions aren't your opinion, great. Agree to disagree. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean they're right and you're wrong, or you're right and they're wrong. It means you respect each other's opinions. Bottom line. That's great. It doesn't matter if it's food. I don't care for Brussels sprouts. Not going to happen. Oh, just thinking about eating banana pudding or something just grosses me out. There are people that love it. Agree to disagree. Whatever works for them. God bless. Let it go. Okay? Agree to disagree. However, there are people that love a good fight. They're stewing for an argument. We all know them. We've all encountered them. You may have one in your home. Okay. Are they worth your time and energy? Is the argument worth your time and energy? Think about it. If you're dealing with a teenager, seriously, you're going to let a teenager have the final word? Yeah, no, I don't think so. Teenagers can be right fighters. They know everything. By the time you're 17, oh my God, everybody else in the world is an idiot. Honey, they're 17. I have shoes older than these people. They are learning boundaries. They're pushing the envelope. They're stepping into their own power. And that's good as long as they don't let it go to their head. Sit down and talk to them about it. I'm glad you have opinions, and I'm glad you voice your opinion. That's great. I want you to stand up for what you believe in. However, at this point in time, you're living in my home. And as long as you live in my house, sorry, my house, my rules. Now, next year, when they're 18, whatever, you go to college, hey, you're living in the dorms. You're living out of state going to college. It's a whole new game plan. But right now, I need you to respect me, my house, my rules. Pretty simple. They won't like it until they have kids. And then all of a sudden, mom and dad weren't quite as stupid as we thought. But there are always going to be people who want an argument. When people start arguing, I want you to think about this. I have used this so many times. I love this. When people start fighting and arguing, I want you to see them, see the person that's raising their voice and screaming and yelling. I want you to see them as an old toothless chihuahua or an old toothless poodle. Just one of the itty bitty dogs, little ankle snappers that's just barking and being obnoxious, not a tooth in their head, tongue hanging out, but boy, they're ferocious. They got to get their point across. They want to scare the hell out of you. Yeah. The next time somebody is yelling at you, threatening you, look at them like that. They're just an old chihuahua, an old poodle, yapping. Because in an argument, the first person, now listen to this, the first person to raise their voice loses. Because the only reason you raise your voice in an argument is because you know you are not being heard and validated. So you ratchet up a level, and another level, and another level. So as they're getting louder and louder, look at them and say, are you done? Because I am. And you turn around and you walk away. That's it. That's it. If they grab you by the arm, put a hand on you, you look at them and say, I don't think so. Remove your hand. Thank you. Walk away. Diffuse the situation. Do not start barking back, because then you're just going to have two old, nasty, toothless poodles barking at each other. Yeah, that's not doing any good. Walk away. Many times, they just want to hear their own voice. Maybe they're attention seeking. Maybe they're wanting to get a crowd. They're a narcissist. They're a reactive abuser trying to push your buttons and call in their flying monkeys. Now, I will explain that. A reactive abuser is a bully. And you know the crew that surrounds the bully, cheering them on, those are the flying monkeys. And you know why they're there? Because if they cheer the bully on, if they're in that bully's corner, they're not going to be the next victim until they are. They seem to forget that. Their turn will come. Yeah. But just walk away. Some people are not worth your time and energy. Let it go. Tell them, you are not worth my time and energy. This conversation is not worth my time and energy. When you can come to me as an adult and speak in a civil tone, we can continue this conversation. Until then, no, walk away. That's it. It's that simple. Might piss them off. It's a them thing, not a you thing. You don't have to argue. You do not have to argue. You can choose to walk away. If more people would employ this, especially young people, I really think we could have less violence. Because with young people, you end up with the poodles. A little chihuahua snapping and snarling and getting louder and louder and pushing and shoving. And I am called in many times. You can see Finn is on lake patrol this morning. I am called in many times to mediate. I love mediation. It's very simple. It's fun. In an argument, a disagreement, the bottom line, people want to be heard. People want to be validated, which is why when I talk to couples, families that are having problems with a lot of fighting and arguing, especially with teens and preteens, just hang on. And I did this in yesterday's video. I want everybody to sit down and list 3 to 5 things that are your biggest complaint, that you're really upset about. Could be curfew, cleaning your room, doing homework, watching TV, whatever it is, just 3 or 5, just write them down. And then I will read them out loud. And then we discuss them. The important thing is for that person to feel heard, to know that their concern is a valid concern, and for them to be validated. You have every right to feel whatever you feel, absolutely, positively. If you feel it's not fair, you feel you're being treated like a child, you feel there's favoritism, you have every right to feel whatever you feel. Because for you, it's reality. Once somebody feels heard and validated, the temperature on that argument goes down. It turns the heat way down. They may feel with a family. Most often, it's a curfew issue or a favoritism issue. You know, well, you let so-and-so do this and this and this because they're a boy. No, because they're older. I understand you feel that this is unfair and that we're not paying attention to you. But when whoever was your age, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da was in place for them. You were just too young to remember. So when you're their age, you'll get the same privileges, but you're not there yet. But until then, why don't we, big word here, compromise, cut them a little slack. That will go a long way. That's a good faith effort. A lot to be said for compromise. But in a mediation, if you're having a disagreement with someone, please use reactive listening, positive listening, and say, I understand you're concerned about, you're worried about, you're angry about X, Y, Z. I understand that. I appreciate that. However, here's my position. And you state your position. Because you have just told them, you hear what they say, and you're validating it, that it matters to you. They could be right, wrong, or indifferent, but their opinion matters to you. I understand this is your concern, and I appreciate that. I understand that. I acknowledge that. However, this is my concern. You're validating, you're listening, and you're validating. And that is huge in any disagreement. Please keep that in mind. And never hesitate to compromise. A meeting of the minds. Each party can kind of give a little. Whatever the situation is, give a little. Compromise. Meet halfway. A lot to be said for that. If a lot of youth, instead of turning to guns, fights, if they could sit down, and I know this sounds really stupid to think of gang members sitting down and doing this, but what if they did? It's a turf war. Somebody doesn't want somebody on one side of the street. I appreciate that. I understand that. My aunt lives there. My grandma lives there. Okay. Compromise. Of course, I think a lot of gang stuff is kind of silly anyway. They need to find neutral territory. They probably have more in common than they want to think, that they want to believe. And instead of fighting each other, they need to come together for a common cause. Come together to get rid of drug dealers in the area. Come together to get rid of bullies in the area. Come together to make sure that little kids can make it to school safely. Protect the little kids, the vulnerable. Come together and do things for the community. Because violence isn't always an answer. I mean, that's just silly. Drugs and alcohol are never an answer. They're never an option. But people get scared. They get frustrated. They get depressed. They don't feel heard. They feel nobody gives a damn. They stop giving a damn. They turn to drugs and alcohol. Maybe they turn to crime to support their habit. When all we have to do is stop and talk to them, listen to them, validate their concerns, find out what's going on. You may be able to help. You don't even realize it, but you may be able to help. It's worth exploring. And lastly, we will talk about right fighters. Oh my God. The people that the only opinion that matters is their opinion because everybody else is stupid. You know, that's when you walk away. Because the only thing that they're listening to is their own voice. They tune everybody else out. We will encounter these people the rest of our lives because they refuse to listen to any other opinion. You know, I recall family members that, you know, I was a nurse for it will be 47 years this June. And I remember, you know, somebody would, you know, start getting sick and they'd ask me what I thought. I'd tell them, you know, I think you probably have strep throat. You probably need to go to a doctor. Well, maybe so. Essentially that term, well, maybe so. To me, you're calling me a liar. You're telling me I don't know what I'm talking about. They go to the doctor. They come back. They have strep throat. Well, maybe so. Yeah, I'm wrong. The doctor's wrong. The test is wrong, but well, maybe so. They just never want to admit defeat. They know better. They may not have any education behind them at all. God knows I went to nursing school. Doctors go to medical school. We kind of know what we're talking about here, but well, maybe so. Well, maybe so. That has always been a button of mine, and I have heard that my entire life from various family members. So, you know, that's when I say, okay, and I walk away. That's it. And I will tell them, do not come to me again. Do not ask me for my wisdom. Do not ask me my opinion because you're going to say, well, maybe so. I don't go down that path. I am very educated. I am very experienced. I know my shit. I don't tolerate disrespect. And that's what it is. It's up to you how you handle it. It's just a me thing. You do you. In closing, validate people. Hear them. Validate them. Be open to what other people are saying. Open eyes, open mind, open ears, open heart, and a closed mouth will go very far. Do not be a yappy old poodle, yappy old chihuahua, just no. You don't have the time and energy for that nonsense. Let it Go. Walk away. Because you're worthy of that. You're worthy of peace. Let them do them. Whatever. Start the new year out. Like I said, open mind, open eyes, open ears, open heart, and a closed mouth. It's okay to agree to disagree. And if it gets out of control,